This is another archival upload of my previous mix critique videos. Again, I apologize for the vertical format that this video is about to switch to. This is 106 through 110. This track was sent in by Rain. Alright, so far we got a really solid mid-range here. That's great. Like, the balance on everything is really good from like the high end of the low mids all the way up through the top of the frequency spectrum, but you're missing a lot of the overall low end. You definitely need some more lows in this overall. Yeah, especially the kick drum. You need a lot more low end in that kick drum. If I want to get really nitpicky here, the snare is a little muddy, but it's not too bad. So overall, that was actually a really solid mix. I think the biggest things are, like I said, the snare is just a little muddy. You're missing some low end, especially in the kick drum. And it would have been nice if there were vocals over the top of it. In some ways, it just feels like a backing track. But like overall, the mix itself was pretty solid. This track was sent in by Ben. Alright, the intro sound was really solid, but it needed to explode a lot more than it did. Like, everything after the intro needs to hit a lot harder than it currently is. Tones aren't too bad, the overall frequency spectrum balance isn't too bad, but the overall levels of each instrument need some work. The guitars are way louder than everything else. Drums need to come up a lot, bass needs to come up a lot. You need a lot more compression overall. Just basically everything feels like it's not hitting as hard as it needs to. Even the drummer's performance, it sounds like he's not hitting the drums as hard as he should. It sounds like he's holding back, which, I mean, depending on where you recorded this, I kind of understand. Like, if you're in a residential area, then it gets difficult to record drums with the energy that they really need to hit hard, but it's a noticeable lack of energy in the drum part. Alright, the source tones sounded halfway decent, but it sounds like you don't know that compressors exist. Like, it sounds like you use zero compression across this entire mix, and it's just lacking so much energy because of it. Part of that is actually the performances themselves, but a lot of it could be solved with just proper compression on everything. So definitely work on using compressors and getting better with that and getting the full amount of energy that you can out of all of the parts. This track was sent in by Adrian. Intro was too long, especially because you're literally just hitting the exact same chord over and over and over. Switch it up or shorten it a lot. But also, this guitar tone sounds like it's going to be really, really cool when everything kicks in, so don't let me down. Cool. Just guitar. I love hearing songs that are only guitar. I really love when, like, the biggest part of the frequency spectrum just isn't in the song at all. It sounds like everything was recorded with your phone mic. I know it wasn't. Like, I can tell that there were mics on different parts of the drum set, but whatever you did in this mix, you're missing so much of the frequency spectrum. You got good low end in the kick. That's like the only compliment I can give you right now. All right, so that was bad. Completely gutted the mid-range. Like, there's just holes in the mid-range. You got a little bit of low end still and a little bit of like harsh high end, but like nothing in the middle. There's no bass, but not like it would matter anyway because there's no mid-range for that to fill out. Also, you used a sample from a Chucky movie in the beginning, and then there were no vocals at all. You would think normally that using a sample like that would somehow play into the story that unfolds in the song, but there was no story in the song. It was just a bunch of riffs. The track was sent in by Sebastian. Alright, so interesting intro. When everything comes in, there's a very apparent issue that the drums are way too far in the back. Like, all we're really hearing is that lead synth line. The drums are not coming through nearly enough. Like, they need a lot more punch. They need to cut through. They need to add the energy to the track that drums are supposed to add. Okay, those guitars sound really bad. It's a very thin tone. Like, there's no low end to that guitar at all. The vocals also sound pretty thin, and just, again, overall, the levels of everything just are not working at all. And with such a thin, not great guitar tone, that being mixed as loud as it is really taking away from the track. I'm sorry, I'm not finishing this. This is just not good. Other than the guitar, source tone for everything else sounds like it's decent, like, so you could have a pretty good mix, especially if you reamped those guitars and got a better guitar tone to begin with. Like, this has the potential to be mixed well, but you need to focus a lot more on getting the balance right with just the faders. Like, this whole track would probably be a lot better if you just literally turned off all the EQ that you have on. You over EQ'd everything, you took out way too much from literally every source. This track was sent in by Renegade. All right, right off the bat, that lead guitar is way too loud over everything else. Everything else needs to come up, and that lead guitar needs to go down, especially the drums. The drums are getting buried. Perfect lover. All right, when those vocals came in, it added a lot of the low end back in and a lot of the low mids that filled it out nicely. But now the hi-hat is way too loud and sounds like the guitar tone needs a lot of work at the source. And it sounds like you need to balance things better with the faders, just like the last track. You guys are jumping to plugins too quick. You need to focus just on getting a good balance with the faders. On paper, doesn't always. I think if you got the fader balance right off the bat and added a lot more compression, especially to the drums, and a lot more mix bus compression so everything gels together better, that would help a lot. All right, performance-wise, that was really rough. All right, so my best advice on this one is spend more time adjusting just the faders. Like, spend a solid half hour just adjusting faders, and then you also need to add a lot more compression. Like, you need a mix bus compressor to make things gel more. You need a compressor on the drum bus to make the drums pop a little bit more. But the biggest thing is just your overall balance. Like, if things were put at the right level in the track, it would automatically sound so much better.